features of metamorphic. Moving ahead, here you can see the transformation of these different set of rocks. Here this is for the list of metamorphic rocks which are found. Now let's see that sequence, that how the igneous would be transformed in sedimentary and how sedimentary formation of metamorphism, especially with respect to the rocks with respect to their types. Here you will see if we have a granite or let's say igneous rock, if there is a erosion, there is a weathering, and if there is a deposition, if there is a lithification, you would have a formation of what? You would have a formation of, let's say, sand. And yes, if it is subjected to further lithification, we would have a sandstone. That is what the example of sedimentary rock. If this same sedimentary rock is subjected to intense temperature, intense pressure, that would ultimately lead to quartzite. There is a proper sequence. I hope you remember an image I shown you, that when we have some sort of sequence, specifically igneous, then we have a sedimentary, and then we have a metamorphism. So that sequence is following here in terms of the rocks structure. Same, suppose if there is a basalt igneous rock, if it is subjected to erosion, weathering, deposition, further compaction, and ultimately let's say lithification, we would have a formation of shale, which is basically a sedimentary rock. And if this shale is subjected to further temperature and pressure, its characteristics will be transformed. I hope you remember, if the temperature and pressure is intense, accordingly there will be a evolution of these metamorphic series. There will be evolution of slate, there will be a schist, and we would have a formation of gneiss, which is actually the example of metamorphic rocks or metamorphic series. Metamorphic series, I hope you remember, this is what the series I'm referring. So we have a metamorphic series. So there is a constant conversion of the rocks in terms of their structural approach, in terms of their structural, I would say, integrity. Here you can see we have so many examples of sedimentary or sedimentary to metamorphic rocks. So here we have a marble, you can see marble. Then we have this anthracite, which is coal basically. Then we have a gneiss. Then we have a hornfels, which is the example of metamorphic rocks. Here you will see we have this metamorphosite. Then we have this novaculite. Then you will see quartzite, phyllite. Then we have a schist, saccharin, slate, and soapstone. These are the example of metamorphic rocks formed from the sedimentary rock, and sedimentary rock itself is formed from igneous. Let's have one of the example of limestone to marble. So suppose we have a igneous rock which is rich in calcium. I gave you this example earlier as well. So there is a subject, if there is a intense erosion and weathering, there would be a formation of limestone, which is the sedimentary rock. If it is subjected to intense heat and pressure, that will ultimately lead to the marble, which is example of metamorphism. So marble would go. Okay. So igneous rock, erosion, sedimentary rock is what? Limestone. Limestone's metamorphism is what? Marble. So you would found marble some parts of as a result of dynamic crust, sometimes near to the on which we would have a more insight. Tectonism or neotectonism. So these are the example of metamorphic rock. Let's have a overview, let's have a clarity, or let's have a significance. What is the use of these metamorphic rocks? How it is useful for human? So here these metamorphic rocks are basically useful for human in this way, the economic significance. So it is being used for the construction purposes, as you have seen about the marble. You might about the slate, quartzite, and gneiss. All of these are used for the construction purposes because they offers hardness. Rocks are very hard, so they are well suited for the construction purposes. These rocks are, very much relevant when it comes to the art and monuments. Specifically in India, you might have seen marble, Taj Mahal. In industry, marble is very much used for, cement and lime. It is also being used for the glass manufacturing. Quartzite is actually used, so that is what economic significance of the set of rock. Energy. Anthracite coal is also one of the sedimentary two metamorphized rock. So anthracite is used for the energy purposes, and now I hope you can relate it that it is purest form of coal. Then we have a gemstones. We could have a garnet, ruby, sapphire could be there. Then we have a minerals like graphite. Then we have a manganese, iron ore, and then we could have a abstose, which could be found or which could be the result of metamorphism of sedimentary rocks. Then yes, we have a intense use of these metamorphic rocks, especially in many engineering purposes for the construction of roads, dams, a railway. In the railway line, we are also using the metamorphic rocks because they offer hardness and they offer less resistance to erosion and wear. Ultimately, they are useful for building, industry, energy, gems, sports. That is what the significance of these rocks, specifically with human, or let's say with human purposes. Moving ahead, now let's see about the division, like what could be the sub classification or classification metamorphic rocks. So here the metamorphic rock can be classified in two ways. So first of all, we have a foliated metamorphic rocks, and we have a non-foliated metamorphic. In these foliated metamorphic rocks, there is a appearance of layered wise appearance is there, bending is there, and they show some sort of parallel arrangement of minerals due to direct pressure. As a result of direct pressure, we have a layered or bending kind of structure, and the example is what? Slate, schist, and yes, gneiss as well. So these are the example of foliated, where you will have some sort of stratas of rocks which are well depicted that they are subjected to intense pressure. Similarly, we could have a non-foliated metamorphic rocks, and these non-foliated metamorphic rocks are actually arranged randomly. There is no bending, there is no layered wise arrangement, there is a random arrangement as a result of intense thermal action, you can say. This is what it is taking place, and along with the intense temperature, we have a uniform pressure. As a result of temperature and uniform pressure, we have a formation of non-foliated metamorphic rocks. Similarly, as a result of variable pressure or let's say variable temperature, we could have a formation of foliated rocks. So we have these two set of rocks in this way.